Hey, it's James Robbins here, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to get your staff to be intrinsically motivated. In other words, motivated from inside, because when they're motivated from the inside, guess what? Then you don't have to work so hard to actually motivate them. But in order to intrinsically motivate somebody, you first have to understand a little bit how motivation works. And so I'm going to walk you through that, right? It's something called the motivation scale. So let me go to my screen here. And so motivation exists actually on a spectrum, and it all has to do with where the control is coming from. So this is important to understand. So if we're gonna divide this actually into three sections. And so in this first section, this would be external motivation. External motivation, and down here what's happening is this is high control. High control. And so what's happening here is that, yes, people are motivated, but it's an external, highly controlled motivation. This is like forcing you to do something. This is a gun to your head. This is the bear is coming out of the woods and chasing you down the road. You are motivated, but the motivation is totally from outside of you. You have really no choice but to move. And frankly, there are big problems with this motivation. Now, number one, it works, right? It gets people's butts in gear. But the problem is when you remove this motivation, then the behavior stops. And so this actually is quite common in the workplace with things like threats. If you ever feel like you're threatened to be fired, well, that's a highly controlling external motivator. And it will get people moving for a short term. But over time, it burns people out and it creates resentment. And then you know what happens? It creates a culture of doing the bare minimum. Because what happens is you lose people's heart, right? There's no heart at this. It's just like do this or else. And so people can do it. They can hate your guts, but they'll do it because they have no choice, right? So we don't want that kind of motivation when it comes to our staff. So we don't want that. What we got to do is we got to move up the scale. And so what happens here is this is still actually an external motivator, but there's an important threshold that happens, and it's we call this the threshold of autonomy. And what happens here is people go from have to, right? They have to run from the bear, and they get here and they want to. So from have to want to. So even though the motivation is still external, but at least now they want to do it. So this might be we've got rewards, we've got incentives, right? Obviously pay, even praise, things like that. They can all be incentives. But basically there's still people now it's a better motivator than a highly controlled motivator. But in a sense, it's still controlled motivation because the motivation is still from outside of the person. But what we want to do is we want to get to this magical place of intrinsic motivation, right? Intrinsic motivation. What that means is the person is just motivated from within. I see you can't see that on the screen there, can you? That says intrinsic motivation. So what happens is people are motivated from inside of them. This is why people volunteer for things. This is why you have hobbies. You just do stuff because it's not that you just want to do it, but the reward from the activity itself is the motivation. And this is when you do things for free or whatever it might be. So can we get people to be intrinsically motivated in the workplace? Yes, absolutely. And how people get intrinsically motivated is when we have connected their work to something purposeful. Like when we help people understand how their work makes a difference in the lives of other people. And sometimes people just forget that and they need to be reminded. But when we connect purpose, then people are intrinsically motivated. At the same time, things like mastery, when people have a goal that's clear and they believe that they can accomplish it and they know why the goal is important, that goal, that specific challenging goal, will actually create intrinsic motivation. right? because people want to reach their goal. That's just what they want to do. So that does that. The same things like discovery, autonomy, not micromanaging people. All of these things help facilitate intrinsic motivation. And here's the thing. When you can move somebody from have to want to, and then when you can move people from want to get to, I get to, it's like privilege. It's like, I'm excited to do this. Then amazing things happen. In fact, when somebody is intrinsically motivated, they work harder, they persist longer through difficulties, they will work harder at something before giving up and coming to you for help. And in fact, studies have shown that people are more creative as well. All of that good stuff happens when people are intrinsically motivated. So that's the thing. It's not just to motivate your employees. It's to help them find motivation from within. And in order to do that, you're going to have to tap into these things. But let me tell you one last thing. When you are motivating somebody with these highly controlled motivators, what happens is the level of excellence in terms of their performance is diminished. You want the best quality of work. Like, in other words, if you want more than just the job done, you want great quality, then you want to shoot for intrinsically motivated staff. All right. Now, here's the thing. Intrinsic motivation is one of the most important things we can do. And in fact, it's one of the things that I talk about in my program, 9 Minutes on Monday. And if you would like to learn how to help somebody, how to help your team be intrinsically motivated, then I've made a free training for you so that you can understand how to tap into what's called these engagement drivers, the powerful engagement drivers that help your staff move from have to want to get to motivation. Because when you get them there, man, it's a beautiful thing. So if you're interested in that training to learn how to do that, then you will see a link in the description. Just go ahead and click on that and you can register and you can access that right away.